For the first time, ever since the pandemic began, and the entire country rallied behind isolating the virus that came from China. The first case arrived here. Not just institutions, but people behind the institutions were the ones creating what we have today. An isolated virus, and from that, leading to a vaccination. I'm talking to Dr. Priya Abraham, who's the director at NIV Pune. We've extensively reported on NIV Pune, but for the first time, we've been welcomed here, all us journalists. Thank you, ma'am, so much for inviting us here. First of all, the journey of NIV throughout the vaccination has been written about. But right now, for the first time, we are here. So how does it feel to realize that NIV has been such a huge part of understanding the viruses, and then from there on, we have moved forward to bringing in more science and technological research into it?
I think it has been it has been an incredible journey, really. And like I've said on many occasions, this was possible because of very good teamwork. I was able to harness the skills and talents of many of my scientific colleagues who put their, complete efforts, and all what we've done is the fruit of my colleagues' tireless efforts. I would say that, and it has given us confidence that, many years ago, maybe a decade and a half ago, if we had a new virus or a new microbe that came into our country, we would have to send those samples to CDC or some other global reference lab to have it confirmed and identified.
Right.
Today, we have the wherewithal to identify the new agent, an absolutely novel agent, in our own country, and take it to a completely new level. Build on diagnostics, build on interrogating antivirals against that, build on distributing reagents to the rest of the country, and take it all the way to vaccines. So I believe this is paving the way for the institute to gear up even more capacity to handle any potential threat in the future. So it has been though it has been a lot of hard work from all quarters, it has been also a very invigorating and confidence boosting journey.
Absolutely, ma'am. NIV Pune was the place where the virus was brought in, and it was isolated and then given to other firms labs that were trying to make the vaccine. Covaxin has been created by ICMR-NIV as well as Bharat Biotech. That's been a journey from the virus till the vaccine. But certainly right now we are in a more comfortable situation, would you say? Because states across India are now saying that mask mandates are not necessary. What's your take?
So, yes, we are looking good now. Many of the states in India are looking, incredibly good, much better than what they've been over the last 2 years. But, we do know that there are pockets in other parts of the world where the virus is still raging. And that is a grim reminder to us that the virus, especially in some pocket of the world, if it were to mutate into a completely different variant, it could come back to us, because the world is now a global village, and with such a lot of airline travel,
we started international flights as well,
we could get back another variant. So that culture of being careful, of wearing a mask when you're in a crowded situation, avoiding poorly ventilated places, keeping that physical distancing that we've gotten used to in the past 2 years, and also encouraging everybody to take the vaccine should not be done away with. That's my personal opinion, and I'm quite staunch about it.
Ma'am, what's your opinion on vaccination for children? Because we've not started to give vaccines to children below the age of 12 years. So what is the future for the children who are still vulnerable? Although there have been many studies done that say children are able to handle COVID-like infections better than adults.
You're right. Children handle SARS-CoV-2 infection much better than adults. But there are a very small proportion of children that have other vulnerabilities. They are immunocompromised. They may be on treatment for cancer. They may be hemodialyzed. They might have other medical complications that make them more vulnerable than an average child. So I feel such children should be prioritized for vaccine, and we should definitely not forget that group. They are a priority population.
Dr. Priya, also the question on boosters, because we're calling it the precautionary dose in India. What does science say about it? Because we've seen, we're now doing studies, NIV is also involved in those studies. Some of them wherein vaccines are given 2 doses of the same vaccine, homologous, 2 doses of different vaccines, heterologous. So what is your take and what does science talk about booster or third dose? How necessary it is in a world today?
I think today many countries are giving the booster dose, and there are even countries that give more than one dose in the form of booster dose. I think there's a role for boosting the immunity, whether 6 months later or 9 months later, but boosting is a good idea because it calls on the memory cells, the memory T cells and B cells, which is like reinvigorating. You know, I always explain the booster as something like sunscreen. Okay, and I probably you've heard me say this before, that, you know, when a cricketer goes out onto the pitch and they have dabbed their sunscreen for the morning session and, you know, maybe dab it at the mid-morning break, and then they go back onto the pitch and they are out there in the sun again, and the sun is going to relentlessly, you know, beat down on them, you know, so they might have to dab yet again. So that protection continues to be there, because the initial protection may have sort of waned off, you know, because they are there in the sun, and that the protection from that initial application would have waned off. So I like to give that analogy because that goes down well, and I think people understand that very well. That boost, there's definitely nothing against a booster. A booster can only help.
But we've still not given or recommended boosters for those below 60. There are people waiting.
See, remember, our country is, you know, people, we equate ourselves with countries like Germany or Australia or New Zealand, you know, where even one state of our country is equivalent to the population of one entire country. So when we say, let's do this or this has to be done, the government has to think out, can we carry it to the last person standing? Before they think it out, they cannot declare anything. So we might see some delays in certain, we perceive it as a delay. It's not a delay. The government is thinking through the nuances of giving that messaging and bringing something mandatory. So please give the government to think it through. There are very many expert groups who are looking at the data from our own country, and recommendations will be there very soon. So, and you remember even when we started with the primary vaccination of the first dose followed by the second dose, 2 doses, which is the basic vaccination schedule, they did it in a graded fashion. So now when they talk about boosting also, if they don't do it in a graded fashion, there'll be chaos. So they start with the highest risk people and then they bring it up. So the government will do it in due course, is my opinion, and we will wait it out. The recommendations will come.
My last question to you, because this is of interest to everybody, more variants, mutations. So will we see an end of the pandemic? We don't know, but there's talk of a pan-corona vaccine or a pan-influenza vaccine. Do you think that is the future? Would NIV, ICMR be looking to work on something like a pan-corona vaccine or a pan-valent vaccine or something like that, so that we can't keep tweaking vaccines to all sorts of mutations?
Yeah. So, yes, multivalent vaccines or maybe a pan-Sarbeco virus vaccine is the way that we may have to go to give individuals a broader band of immunity against a wider range of organisms. You know, because you can't make a vaccine too specific for a type, because few months later there may be a completely new type that is grabbing the world's attention. So multivalent vaccines and pan-Sarbeco virus vaccines, or vaccines that have a broader, you know, a range to protect, will be the way vaccine manufacturers will be going. These are little more tougher to do than, taking the original prototype strain and making a vaccine. Yes, that may be something as an institute we may be considering down the road, but right now there are no plans, but we will consider. I mean, now we have delivered on many counts, and we are now going to take up some of the newer challenges. We have not done anything very definitive towards that, but we would be considering it.
Thank you so much for speaking to us, and that's definitely the science behind which people are actually looking forward to, and the experts in the government and the NEGVAC actually look at the science that institutions like ICMR and NIV give to them, and that is what the basis is for protection that people have from vaccinations today. And we at ICMR-NIV Pune here have been witness to the science behind the virus from the vaccine and the entire journey. In Pune, Milan, Sharma for India Today.